The music I've displayed before you here today is called hardcore punk rock, and it will surprise you how much this music has influenced artists in the past 5 decades. And even though individuals will consider punk music as noise, punk music is not just music, it is a way of thinking, a way of living, and a way of seeing. A lifestyle that came and eradicated the world in the late 1960s through 1970s. The punk rock scene came to be from the New York City local garage bands and from London anarchists in the UK. All arose with music that all held the same rebellious, nonconformist attitude. The state of the world at the time was very ludicrous, with the impeachment of Richard Nixon for obstructed justice, as well as the overall economic state of stagflation that had families drowning in poverty. Rock stars shoved success and wealth in the face of our poverty and suppressed population, and punk rockers in general were sick of it, claiming their music to be real rock and roll, not punk, preaching that rock stars only made their music for profit and not for passion. At the time of the upbringing of the new punk rock wave, New England was experiencing social agitation, which is why they apprehended the phenomenon naturally due to the harsh political standpoints. Along with the increase of unemployment and the change of economy resulting from the past couple wars, the punk youth of the UK felt that there was no light in their future, that there was no hope, and they were on Earth with no purpose. The punk bands started a revolution of anarchy, which is a firm belief that there should be no ruler, for every ruler has failed them. Like God, the government, any authority was just propaganda in their eyes. And a lot of the punk bands influenced many other bands to just keep on spreading the anarchist mindset. And throughout the UK, skinheads, not all were racist, but at the time it wasn't uncommon. Mods who were just into jazz and blues, and rockers who just loved rock and roll came like moths to a flame to adopt this new culture that held space for all the quote-unquote doomed youth. So that's what the scene looked like, just a whole bunch of losers, honestly. A lot of people who just didn't like their lives, who were dissatisfied with everything that was surrounding them. A little bit before the time of the punk revolution, racism had flooded the UK by 1970, and the punk rock scene had a lot of racist fans just because of the population was so racist. And the punks did not care for the racist fans, and when it first started to really spark a flame, the punks wanted change in the world, so some bands began rock against racism, which is where bands would get Nazi artists to come and help make music with them just to humiliate them by using contradicting lyrics, speaking about the stupidity of white supremacy and the shame that it should come with. Nazis, being ignorant as always, didn't pay much attention to the lyrics, and they would help formulate anti-racist rock and roll. Some real dumbass. This eventually inspired many bands in the future to use Nazi propaganda on their flyers to attract Nazis to go to their gigs so they can fight and torment the Nazi individuals who attended, often pointing out the Nazis, having them targeted. Of course, you can't change everyone, so there will always be remaining Nazi beliefs in certain groups and bands, but they're obviously frowned upon in the community of the anti-racist bands. And regardless of the anti-racist and anti-sexist themes of punk rock lyrics, the clothes they wore pissed people off. Back in the time of the punk fashion being brand new, wearing punk stuff like spiky hair and spikes on their clothes and just trashy attire in general, without anything offensive, was a guaranteed beating just because they were outcast and they looked different and they weren't considered normal. Punk was often used as a slur So to piss people off even more, they wore Nazi symbols and whatnot to just have people examine society and just to draw more attention to themselves because they desperately wanted change and just something different. The cycle of hate will continue regardless because people just hate people. As long as there is diversity and closed-minded individuals, it won't go away. As the culture aged and matured, more minorities and different nationalities came to make a place in the scene. Nothing really mattered to anybody. Like, they just do whatever, and like, race was the last thing anyone was worried about in the punk scene. I just wanted to bring that up because some people listen to punk music and they think of Nazis and stuff. That's not how it is. A lot of Nazis would get their asses kicked if they went to a punk rock show. That's just not... It doesn't matter. Like, why does race matter? It doesn't, shouldn't, nothing matters. That's the whole mindset thing. Nothing freaking matters. Anyways, let's get back into how punk music influenced artists in the future. When punk music started to gain traction and really attract an audience, the genre inspired many artists in upcoming genres. With the explicit themes and outrageous, unfamiliar patterns that is original and foreign, one genre of music that I personally really enjoy is crust punk, an essentially metal version of punk music. Artists started to create punk music that was heavier, darker, noisier, and crustier, creating crust punk. I would name bands, but I know no one really cares about how many bands I can name. I'm also over the time limit already, so let's just talk about how punk rock inspired hip-hop music, because that's pretty surprising, is it not? I think it's pretty surprising. And one of the most influential music genres ever, hip-hop, emerged from downtown New York City around the same time that punk music was played in small clubs in the mid-1970s, around 1974. The hip-hop artist DJ Kool Herc, one of the godfathers of hip-hop, pretty sweet, had started his own sound in the Bronx using disco records and different sound equipment to create something totally different. Graffiti artists were also being recognized at this time, and hip-hop music and graffiti went hand in hand with each other. And so did punk rock, like the destroying themes, destroy yourself, destroy buildings, destroy walls, whatever, with the paint. The downtown New York City culture was full of punks, and graffiti artists and new aspiring DJs wanted a piece of that downtown scene. When hip-hop music was brand new, it was stated by Africa Bambaataa, another godfather of hip-hop, that the downtown punk scene would be one of the first areas that really embraced hip-hop. The hip-hop scene really took over and sort of left punk rock in the dust. Just don't forget, hip-hop also took aspects from punk rock and ran with it. Rebellion, out-of-the-norm sounds. For example, a band that transitioned into hip-hop sound was the notorious Beastie Boys. They actually started as a punk band, and they wanted to take more of a hip-hop approach with their music in the late 1970s. Another artist that is from the new generation of rap music that is punky, with their punk aesthetic, I guess, is the Suicide Boys. They literally have an anarchy symbol in their merch. I think they're posers, but that's a whole different story. Ruby actually started his music career in a punk band called Vapor Rats because his mom didn't like him listening to rap music, so he chose to start a punk band with his homies, which probably pissed his mom off even more. Countless other artists, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Playboi Carti, even the Surfing Bird song by the Crash Man. You know, that stupid song that Peter Griffin is obsessed with? It's punk inspired. Apparently, I looked it up. And they all have punk aspects in their music that really just shows how influential the genre really was. And there you have it. That is the upbringing of punk rock music and how it inspired the world to stop following the rules. And to be your own leader, not another sheep in the world, but to take your own authority. To create what you feel brings meaning into your life and to do what you love to do. Not to impress other people and not to follow what someone else wants for you, but for you to be your indescribable, indefinable, unique self as a human being and a citizen of the world. Thank you for your time. Sorry for wasting it. Later.